Shimamina, this is T-Secure, and you're watching PokéCast. Today we'll be starting our next line of comics, and it's going to be the infamous Batman. Now, I went on to Comic Find to read up on him to see if there's anything I didn't know about him, for that way in this little, 10 minutes of explaining Batman, especially to those who don't even know who Batman is, if those exist. I was actually really surprised. There was so much more information about him that I didn't know, and I think his page on Comic Find is probably the longest superhero page there. There's so much to read up on him. It was just absolutely amazing, just because of all the different universes he's been in, with all the multi-universes that DC does to help. Okay, well, here's why he was like this time. Then the other one we were using was in this universe and this universe. So it was really cool to you read up and see how DC really was able to, put everything together how it needed to go. And there's just so much more that certain Batmans I haven't read. So it was really cool to see that going on. Well, let's start off with the basics. That way we, for everybody who's like, okay, so who are the creators? When did he first appear? And all that. So, let's see. Back in 1939, Bob Kane and Bill Finger were the ones who actually went ahead and invented the Batman. Of course, with a couple of the things, they really were having fun designing the Batman. So, his first costume made him look like a purple bat, if I remember correctly. It was just, something completely bizarre. Now, when it came to his first appearance, it was good because, the first costume wasn't very good, and seeing how they're like, well, we need to do something a tad different. Why don't we just go with blue and gray, and instead of the classic mask, why don't we do a whole cowl, the whole hood, and go ahead and do that, and thus the Batman was born. Now, for the first comic, it was number 27 of Detective Comics, The Case of the Chemical Syndicate, and that was on May 1st, 1939. So he's been around for a very long time. The premise behind Batman, really, he was inspired by several amazing superheroes. You have the Grey Ghost, you have the Shadow, you have Zorro himself, that Batman was inspired, and hence why, when done appropriately and to show respect to the to the authors, in most movies except for one, usually when the incident occurs, they're coming out of the movie theater watching The Mask of Zorro, which is a respectful, here's somebody that inspired me. And that's why, at least to what I remember, in one movie, they weren't coming out of The Mask of Zorro, which was Batman Begins, which is kind of sad. That was like the only major thing they messed up on. From there, so, okay, how does Batman become Batman? Well, as I was saying, they're coming out of The Mask of Zorro and started walking home. Unfortunately, as they're walking home, and Mr. Chill, that's the original guy, came up, wanted the pearls off of Martha Wayne, and unfortunately ends up killing both of them in front of Wayne. I'm trying to remember, there's so much information about him. I'm trying to remember everything 100% of the original storyline. At the age of, I think it was 13, Bruce goes on a walkabout, basically, and decides to learn everything he can. That way he becomes, a better person to where he will be able to do stuff. After spending years training, he finally comes home and he wants to be able to go out and, fight crime, but he couldn't figure out what to do. All of a sudden, a bat flies through the window, scares him. He's like, that's it. That's what I want to be. I want to be a Batman. Now, of course, with the original Batman being based off of certain superheroes, such as the Grey Ghost and the Shadow, the first Batman did carry a pistol and was willing to kill villains and the bad guys. So yeah, the whole thing about Batman having this code of honor where he will do everything possible to make sure no one was killed was actually enforced by one of the newer directors of DC. It's like, no, we need to have a code of honor on him because it'll make him cooler. And in all honesty, it really saved Batman. Having a copy clone of 3 major guys, that was okay, that was cool and everything, but we needed a code of honor that made Batman different than those guys. And with that being initialized, that's when Batman did not kill anymore. From there, that's when eventually they included a Robin. They needed to make Batman seem more friendly instead of his dark self, and that's when, unfortunately, Dick Grayson's parents had to be killed. Bruce adopts him, and this is an original storyline before Alfred came. Have that review up, and that was actually pretty funny. Hi, so I'm Alfred Pennyworth. I am your new butler, and breakfast will be served at 7 a.m. I expect you to be there. Okay. Cool, we have a butler. So, Dick, what do you think? It was just a funny instance. I know later in the next universe, when they rebooted his whole thing, he was raised by Alfred. So, there's been different ways that they looked at Alfred and brought him back into the story and everything. Each one of them has been really good. Going on with Robin, we've seen multiple different Robins. We've even seen in one universe where Thomas Wayne was Batman and Bruce Wayne was the original Robin, while his mother was actually Batwoman. So, there's so many different things that are really cool. There is absolutely no way I could describe all of it, nor do I want to, because there's just so many surprises. The only other thing I want to say about the infamous Robin name is that it's also one of the most dangerous sidekick names to be, or mantles to be given, only because of how many deaths we've actually had with the Robin. And I think current to date, that is now 3 Robins have been killed, if I remember correctly. With the, I guess the one other thing I really need to say is, is the big instance where eventually here comes Bane. Bane was the only official villain to physically defeat the Batman. By breaking Batman's back, Bruce had to give the mantle over to Azazel, who became an insane Batman. Literally completely crazy, started almost ready to kill people, and eventually had to be taken down by 2 Batmans and a Robin to take him out. And that is officially when the mantle of Batman goes to Dick Grayson, while Bruce has to recover. And, much, much more I could go on about his son coming in, his official son, even though he already has an official daughter. There's so much more right there. Like, also, I know, just piqued your interest and you want to hear more. But because I'm out of time, I have to leave it right there. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this little introduction to one of the most dangerous heroes, if not an anti-hero, in all of the comics ever written, which is truly the Batman, the most dangerous superhero ever made. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. This is T. Sakura saying ciao and sayonara.